Hey there, it's Kimberly Lucht, and I'm a business coach and energy healer for entrepreneurs who want to make more money and magic doing what they love. And so if that sounds like you, you're in the right place. And today we're talking all about health and how it's such an important component when it comes to your business being able to grow, to thrive, to expand. Health is really part of the foundation of that. And so that's something that, of course, as the energy healer and coach that I am, it's not my line of expertise. I'm not a medical practitioner. I'm not a healthcare physician or anything of the sort. So, of course, consult your doctor before taking any of this, as fact or information that you need to implement. But I felt guided to speak about this today because I've gone through a bit of a health journey in the last year or so that I think has really allowed me to realize how important it is to take care of not just like your baseline health, but your optimal health. Like, where do you want to be? Where do you want to expand your health? Where do you want to optimize your health? And I think that, there's always going to be little things here and there, but ultimately, if you can find this optimal health range for you and find ways to stay in that optimal range, it's really going to help also the health of your business. And so about a year ago, I noticed that there were just these like bumps on my skin that I was like, that doesn't seem normal for me. It doesn't seem like a regular pattern for my skin. I've always been pretty acne free and bump free everywhere on my body. And I just noticed these little bumps on my hands, on my arms sometimes. And it's just like, what is that? Like, what is going on there? And I went into the doctor and she prescribed me some stuff, some topical stuff that just didn't hit home. It didn't feel like that was resolving the root issue. And I was just like, ugh, like, where do I go from here? I don't really feel pain or discomfort. It's not something that for a Western practitioner of medicine, it wouldn't be like that alarming to have a few bumps on the skin, but I just didn't really feel like it was the optimal condition of my skin. And I think that that's where I started to do my own research and just kind of try to find these herbal and holistic methods to resolve it. And so I started to experiment with some supplements, and I noticed that some certain supplements were helping me with the bumps on my skin. I'm like, oh, that's really interesting. I wonder what's going on underneath the surface. Like, I don't really understand why I have the bumps in the first place, but after working with a functional medicine clinic in New York City, they confirmed what I already knew to be true, which was that I had a slight yeast overgrowth in my small intestine, which is something that most doctors won't even test for, but this is something that is pretty common, I've learned, in vegetarians, unfortunately. It's something that because we're not consuming meat or fish or things that increase stomach acid, there's things that might be more likely to grow in the intestines. And it's not to scare anybody. Like, I currently am not vegetarian anymore because of these, conditions or symptoms that were coming up for me. But I know that there's a way to do it that will be totally healthy for some people. For me, it just didn't feel right anymore to be vegetarian. And that was part of what I learned through this clinic, is that stomach acid is a really important part of digestion. And when it's not optimized, then, everything else kind of starts to feel a little bit off. And so it's not just about, stomach acid or digestion or the skin health. All of this really allowed me to see that my whole body is an ecosystem. It's, there's the skin microbiome, there's the gut microbiome, there's all these different microbiomes in the body that when one of them is off, it tends to feel like all of them are off sometimes, right? It just depends on the system that you're talking about or the organs that you're talking about. But recently, also working with this clinic, I noticed that, like everything else feels pretty good. My digestion is great. My skin looks great. Everything feels so much better. And as a dancer and somebody who's always been really body aware, I notice very subtle shifts in my body, whether it's my skin or my digestion or, the liquid around my eyes and how hydrated I feel. I tend to notice like how lubricated my joints feel or things like that, that really, as a dancer or a mover or any form of, athlete, I'm sure they also kind of feel these subtle differences because it does affect performance. If you're not healthy, if you're not alive, none of these creative endeavors are alive or healthy either. That's kind of the vibe that I usually get when I'm working with clients or even with myself. It's like, I will be optimally performing in my business when I am also optimally healthy. Not just like baseline healthy of just like, oh yeah, I'm just getting by. It's like, yeah, I'm fine. There's no pain. There's no issues, whatever. Like I'm just getting by. But to optimize health in a way that really feels good and feels like, wow, I've never felt this healthy before, or wow, I've never felt this alive before. And so after a while, after I noticed my digestion was really improving, my skin health was really improving, I started to experiment with some of the other recommendations of the clinic, which was to monitor your blood sugar. And at first I was like, well, I don't really feel like that's an issue for me. I'm not diabetic. I don't feel like I have that, problem necessarily, but I do have diabetes in my family. Like my grandmother on my Mexican side, she had diabetes. And I think that blood sugar is very overlooked, and there's a lot of YouTube videos about it. I'm not going to go into detail here, but basically we did a little bit of blood sugar testing with a continuous glucose monitor. So I had that on the back of my arm for a couple of weeks, and overall things were great. Like the blood sugar was great, and great levels and all this and all that, and the way I was eating and the order of the things I was eating was really helping me with my blood sugar levels. But one thing that they noticed was that my blood sugar levels were slightly higher overnight and in the morning. There's a few factors that could cause that, but they told me that the most likely factor for me, especially because I don't eat at like 11 p.m. and I don't go to bed at 3 a.m. or anything like that. It's like I'm going to bed at a normal time, I'm eating dinner at a normal time. The most likely culprit for higher increased blood sugar levels, and not like overly outlandish or anything, but just slightly higher than they should be, was cortisol. And I was thinking, I'm like, oh, do I feel stressed? I was like, do I feel stressed? And the answer to that question at that time was, yeah, I feel a little more high alert than maybe I should. And living in a city and there's so much stimulation and there's so many people and things and just noises, that affects everyone's body, regardless of if it's conscious or subconscious. And I think that I was in this high alert state just because maybe that's something that I was familiar with. And since then, I've noticed that optimizing my health has now more so become stress management. And I know that some of you are going to be like eye roll to that as kind of something that I'm bringing into this, but I just want you to stick with me for a little bit, because if you don't feel like you're stressed, because I didn't feel like I was stressed, but my blood sugar levels were, telling me a different story. And so it really allowed me to go back to the drawing board and be like, okay, how am I starting the mornings? How am I going to bed? Am I waking up with like all of these thoughts in my head and activating the stress response more than maybe I should in the mornings? Maybe there's certain practices that I need to do in the evenings. But ultimately, it's more so like throughout the day, like how am I managing or navigating stressful situations? And so even right now, as I'm recording, I'm just noticing my belly is breathing, like I'm opening up and expanding the belly as I breathe. And I'm not like in this overly energetic or frenetic or simulated state. And so that right now, and I think for a lot of us, is something that we can focus on, even if we don't feel like there's anything wrong with our health or that we feel like we've already optimized health. There's always a beautiful, other piece to it, which is like, okay, let's see how much more we can surrender into a stress-free or stress-lowered state of mind and energy. And that for me has become a big foundation of optimizing health and therefore optimizing my business. And so this brings me to one of the biggest components of health, which is nervous system regulation. And I think a lot of entrepreneurs and business owners are used to being active, engaging, on it, with it, and just like always on, always on. And our nervous system is meant to kind of go in waves between the sympathetic and the parasympathetic nervous system. Now, the on and off switch is something that is not easily accessed all the time, but it's something that I think we can access more regularly if we are able to integrate certain practices and health habits into our day. And so the deep belly breathing, even like yawning, is really going to help you regulate back to parasympathetic, which is more of that rest and digest state. And then you can go back up to sympathetic and like do the calls and have the client sessions and all those things. But when we are able to activate both throughout the day and not just stay all high alert like settings, we're able to then optimize everything in our lives. And so there's some things that the functional medicine clinic taught me that I want to share with you today, just in case you're in this space too. And in case you want to learn a little bit more about the nervous system, regulation techniques that I've done so far. And of course, energy healing has always kind of been one of my nervous system regulation techniques, and all these other things like meditation and dance and all this other stuff that I've already integrated. But I think we can always expand our tool set and expand the tools that we use to optimize our health. So first I want to explain a little bit about cortisol, because I think it gets a bad rap. It's a beautiful hormone. It's something that the adrenal glands will excrete. And so it's part of the endocrine system, which if you think about the endocrine system, it's basically our hormonal powerhouse system. And hormones do affect everything, especially if you're a woman, but also if you're a man. I know a lot of Ayurvedic practitioners and Eastern health practitioners are very focused on digestion and that digestive tract, which is of course important and really, really, really important for healing and making sure that you're, absorbing all the nutrients that you need and digesting everything that needs to be excreted, etc. But something else that's really important is the endocrine system, because it does affect digestion. I actually remember when I got off birth control, my digestion was like magically like poof overnight, like amazing. And I'm like, wow, like that is wild how like a switch in hormones can affect digestion so immediately and so powerfully. So if you feel like something's off, it could be anything, but I think that one of the hormones that we tend to have a lot of health conditions associated with is cortisol. And like I said, my blood sugar was a little spiked because potentially I have higher than normal cortisol levels, at least at that time. And so some things that they suggested me to do is to, stay hydrated, have electrolytes. I think that, I sweat a lot, and it's something that they think is connected to my adrenals. And so to like support the adrenal glands, sodium, potassium, electrolytes, that's helpful. But another thing that they taught me that I hadn't seen before is stimulating the vagus nerve, not just through the vocal cord tonation exercises that you might see, like the voo and stuff like that, like humming. It's a really great way to stimulate the vagus nerve. But another great way is to actually touch it. And so I never knew that you could do this, but it's something that I want to show you guys right now. And so if you want to do this with me, you're going to take 2 fingers, either side of the hand or both hands, and you're going to find that point in the neck that feels like it kind of sticks out. It's almost like this area. So a little bit behind that, you're going to massage that gently. And something that my practitioner said is that doing this for maybe 10 seconds every day versus like an hour every week is more helpful. Like being able to regularly stimulate the vagus nerve is going to be more helpful than, like a whole 1 hour massage session that you might do on a Sunday. But like maybe you're doing your skincare or other facial routines that allow you to touch the neck in this way. But stimulating this area is something that can really help you bring back the energy, the rest and digest state of the parasympathetic nervous system. Of course, the other thing that I just mentioned is vocal cord stuff. So humming, or like the voo chant. I think maybe some people have heard about that, but like you say voo and just like breathe deeply between rounds. Another thing though is, how are you carrying yourself through the world? Like, how are you breathing as you walk through the city or drive or do YouTube videos or do sessions with your clients? Like really noticing what's the energy that you're bringing into the space. And if you feel like that energy is calm, neutral, peaceful, and maybe like, awake and activated, but not in a stressful way, then you are golden. And I think that's something that I think overall can optimize all of our health systems in the body, digestive tract, your endocrine system, your cardiovascular system, like everything is affected by the way that you feel. And that's something that I think is so overlooked when it comes to optimizing health and optimizing your life and optimizing your business, is really everything is connected to how you feel in real time. And so I really hope that this helps, and I hope that you find that gentle peace and stability in your body, regardless of what's going on in your health or business right now. I hope that you feel the love energy that's exuding from me as I start to communicate a little bit about my own journey. And I hope that whatever health stuff might have come up for you in the past year or decade or a few months, I hope that everything feels like it can be resolved in a way that feels right for you, in a way that feels like this is how I want my body to feel. And so if you want more videos like this dropping in your inbox every single week, I invite you to get on my email list. It's where I drop these videos first, and it's also where I share certain stories or advice that I don't share anywhere else. And so if you want in on all of that juicy goodness, then click the link below and get on my email list, and I can't wait to see you inside. There's a bunch of welcome gifts, so just get ready for this shower, for this inbox energetic party that is all fun and love and excitement and abundance, and just giving you all the good juju to live your best life. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you in the next video. Ciao for now. Bye.